Moving on to the next session, we have release of monthly educative magazine, Apala Paryavaran. This magazine has a tagline, environmental education to every home. It is a bilingual magazine so that it can reach out to a lot of people. It includes informative articles by experts, interviews of researchers and scientists, attractive photographs, Paryavaran Dakshata Mandal's activity book reviews, and so on. I would also love to call Professor Vidyadhar Palavalkar, who is the president of Paryavaran Dakshata Mandal, Thane. He worked as a senior lecturer and head chemistry department at Vidyapratara Mandal's Polytechnic College in Thane. A prolific writer and orator, one of the founder members of Paryavaran Dakshata Mandal, has written several articles on nature and environment, mostly in Marathi, published in various print media. Expert in waste management and problems associated with environmental pollution. Currently, Sir is managing director at Enviro Vigil's common biological waste treatment and disposal facility at Kalwar, Thane. So may I now welcome Professor Vidyadhar Palavalkar to please make the release of the magazine.
Good morning, everybody. I take this opportunity to introduce what is this Apala Paryavaran. See, it's an effort which is running for last 18 years. It is very difficult to run a magazine like this in Marathi. So, after running it for 10 years, almost we came to the conclusion that we have to also introduce some language in this. So, we introduced English in this. So, it's a bilingual now. And it is reaching almost to, you can say 70 or 80 places in Maharashtra, in different schools, colleges, and see, this is what a tagline, Paryavaran Shikshan Dhurogari. That is, every house or every home. So with that, with the parents, with those students who are studying this poster carries the nature, see, to the home. Okay, so even if you are getting large number of photographs or even the films on the television or internet, this is something which is coming to your home direction, and that is what we want to achieve. So thank you very much for giving us opportunity to publish this magazine in this seminar. But this is one of the way to reach the people for getting this magazine. Thank you.
Okay, so moving ahead, thank you so much. Let me talk about Mr. Kishore Joshi. Mr. Kishore Joshi has obtained B.Tech from HBTI Transfers and M.Tech in Science and Engineering from IIT Delhi. He has Masters in Public Administration degree from LKY School of Public Policy in US, Singapore. He has won several awards, out of which he has received Prime Minister's Award for Excellence in Public Administration for IEC in Swachh Bharat in the year 2018. He has also received Indian Police Medal in the year 2020. He has received National Award for Outstanding Services in the year 2013. Lee Ka-shing Scholarship for MPA in Enviro, Singapore in the year 2009. He also received Director General RPS Commendation and Insignia in the year 2001. Currently, Mr. Joshi is holding the post of Director, Jal Shakti Mission, an initiative of Jal Shakti Mantralaya, Government of India, New Delhi. I now request Mr. Yugal Kishore Joshi to deliver his keynote speech. Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you very much, Samita, for this generous introduction. Am I audible and visible?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm honored to be amongst all environment enthusiasts here, respected teachers, wetland lovers, and experts from Paryavaran Dakshata Mandal, Association of Teachers in Biological Sciences, learned faculty and students of Ramniranjan Jhunjhunwala College, Enviro, Vigil, Thane, Mangrove Foundation, Dr. Himanshu Dowda, the principal of RJC, organizing committee led by Professor Praveen Nayak. Thank you very much for inviting me on this very, very important conference. In the beginning, my heartiest congratulations on World Wetland Day to everybody. As all of you, you know more than me about the wetland and the issues associated with it. we are running into the 50th year of Ramsar Convention. And in last 50 years since the convention held in Iran, 35% of world's wetlands have been lost. And as everybody knows that 6% of Earth's land surface is covered by the wetlands, and 40% of whole planet's animal species, they live or breed there. But what I, in my opinion, is a bit disappointing that this important thing of wetland, we could not make it a proper behavior change communication moment. So I'll come to that. But what I think that this year's themes, which are action for people and action for nature, they culminate from our very rich heritage. Whatever, howsoever financial, human capital and political will we deployed here, but until and unless we don't change the behavior of people, because on earth, with the population of almost 8 billion people or so, we are the biggest predator of resources on this earth. So my emphasis on today's address will be on the behavior change communication, how we can involve all the people who either live in and around the wetlands, or who are dependent, or who can influence the conservation and protection of wetlands. One another thing which I saw in today's newspaper when I was reading in Delhi, Delhi University, like RJC and so many universities, so many young students, I saw their posts on social media, so richly, researched, so well thought of. So I'm so happy to learn that all this young generation, they are coming forward in a big and innovative way to preserve wetlands. As far as the ministry or government concerned, our taglines, we are very fond of these taglines. Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change has this tagline of Prakriti Rakshati Rakshita, means the nature protects if she is protected. And if we talk about re-wet, reforest and restore, what actually we are doing in this direction. And if I talk about behavior change communication, to talk about the participation of people, their engagement with conservation of wetlands, I think we have to go back to our roots. In India, whatever behavior change communication we want to emphasize on, we want people to adhere to, basically depends on two things. Number one, the truth and the people's acceptance of truth. Number two, their understanding of the issue. Since very young age, we have been reading, Paropkaraya phalanti vraksha, Paropkaraya vahanti nadya, Paropkaraya duhanti gava, Paropkarartham midam shariram. But I think we as a human being, we want to take everything from nature, but the Paropkarartham midam shariram thing, we have forgotten. In this context, I would like to, remind you of a story from Upanishada, that is Satyakam's story, very beautiful story. And if we understand the ethos, the ethics of that story, I think that will be very useful for people to understand the importance of wetlands. Satyakam, you must be knowing that he was a son of a woman called Jabala. And the issue with the Jabala was that she was not sure who fathered Satyakam. So whenever Satyakam, used to ask her, who is my father, she used to say that I don't know. So Satyakam, she wanted Satyakam to be a big sage, a learned person. So she used to ask him to go to the various schools to, for education. But wherever Satyakam used to go, people, asked for his father's name, his gotra and other things, and denied admissions. They ridiculed him all the time. Finally, the story is that he goes to a Brahmavetta Rishi, Haridrumat Gautam, who admits him, saying that if you have this courage of speaking the truth, then that means you are a Brahmin and fit for education. But the real part of this story, very moving story, is that the Guru gives Satyakam 400 cows, very weak, disease-ridden and other cows. And he puts a condition that I will start your formal education only when you bring back me 1,000 cows. So now this was very difficult examination. You are taking 400 cows, going to forest, and by your own, you have this condition to return back with 1,000 cows. So Satyakam goes there, and now in that journey to forest, Satyakam meets 4 gurus who give him the knowledge, the wisdom about the relationship between nature and the human being. So first one of them was a bull. The bull was there for the procreation mainly, but the bull gives him the knowledge of what we called entire universe and its preservation. Then second, he meets fire. Third is a swan, and fourth is a bird called Madhu. So the bull gives Satyakam the knowledge of 1/4 of the eternal knowledge. He says that this is very beautiful, and the thing to understand that this entire cosmos is the extension of yourself. Therefore, we should worship that everything, which if we share with everybody doesn't deplete. And second guru, fire, gives him the knowledge which, these days in modern world, when we understand climate change, we understand pollution and other issues. So that knowledge fire gives to Satyakam. And fire says that all these relationship between nature and the human beings, to understand this, first you should understand that these all are the manifestation of God. Like you are a manifestation of God, so does a tree or a wetland. You are not isolated creature here. You are not separated from these all things. If you degrade them, in turn, you yourself degrade. If you destroy them, you yourself get destroyed, because these all are in you and you are in each of them. So naturally, like all our students, Satyakam was also a very curious student. So he asked in return that, does this mean we should not eat or drink anything? We should not breathe, because if we do anything, eat, drink or breathe, something will be destroyed by us. So in return, the fire laughs and says that, no, it is not like that. Nothing is prohibited, but what is required is the knowledge and understanding. Today, perhaps it is difficult for you to appreciate what I am saying, but at a time will come when the man, for its unending greed and wants, would like to eat everything, like the way we are doing now. He will dig the earth, he will milk the skies, he will cut the forest, fill the seas, and exploit everything for his pleasure and luxuries. Unmindful of others, we would turn rivers into cesspools, paint blue sky into black, and turn seas into huge dustbins. In that age, ironically called the age of science, perhaps people will appreciate more what I am telling you now. So this fire is telling to Satyakam. And Satyakam, fire tells Satyakam, what actually is science? Science is the perception or cognition that our surroundings, atmosphere and environment are integral to our existence. So the fundamental, which comes from Ishopanishad, it is that there is a maryada of everything. There is a limit of everything. How we are, using the resources, how we are conserving them, how we are sustaining them. So the shloka from Ishopanishad is, I think, a thing which every student, every new generation, everybody who is living in and around wetland, everybody who is conscious of the environment should understand. And that shloka is Isha Vasimidam Sarvam Yat Kinch Jagatyam Jagat Teen Tyakteen Bhunjitha Ma Gradha Kasya Siddhanam. So I think all the learned people here understand these things. So after fire, Satyakam again meets 2 more gurus. So one is the swan and other is the Madhu bird. So they gave him, the entire perspective of how the cosmos, entire cosmos, we are just a, minuscule, very small part of this. So they tell him that, this, unless and until we understand the entire edapoclimatic system, the entire the chemistry, biology between, all the species of this planet and ourselves, we cannot, live a better life. So the story goes, if I continue, that Satyakam finally, with the help of that bull, is able to make 400 cows turn into 1,000, and he returns back to his gurus. So the guru, when he sees the aura of Satyakam, he says, Satyakam, you are looking like a Brahmaveta yourself. You need not, any teaching. So now Satyakam smiles and understands, before any kind of formal education, it is very important, to also look into the worldly experience to understand these all things. He understands that why his guru sent him with 400 cows. So Satyakam, like a true pupil, he narrates everything to his guru and says that Acharya, whatever I have learned from worldly experience, now I have told you. Now you give me, some academic or something which is left there. So Guru says that, once you have learned this cohabitation concept, this integral concept, this inclusive partnership or the integration thing, then there is no more there to be learned. So he only says one thing from some other says, that is Purna Midam Purna Madah Purna Midam Purnat Purna Mudachyate Purnasya Purna Madaya Purna Meva Vashishyate. So now today in this world, when we are talking about, basically four things. Number one is the inclusive partnership for wise use of wetlands. Second is the integrating conservation. Third is the social benefits, because we human beings cannot live without using these wetlands. Fourth is how wisely we can use them with a sustainable kind of approach. And living with all kind of threats, the climate change, population growth, urbanization, the agriculture and agriculture related issues, pollution, and most importantly, livelihood. So how we all integrated these things so that people can understand it. So I would just like to share with you a few findings or takeaways which we got from this Swachh Bharat mission and Jal Jeevan mission. These may be very useful for young people to understand, as well as the people who are practitioners. So how to, until and unless we don't make it a people's movement or don't take it to the people, it will be very difficult to achieve whatever we aspire for as far as conserving wetlands concerned. So, for example, if you must have read this wetland rules of 2017. So if you go through those all rules, you will find there everything. This is a great document. You will see, the kind of authorities, names there, functioning, how to prepare the data, the list of wetlands, delineating wetlands, ecosystem of wetlands, and everything you will find there. But to my surprise, what I could not find there is, hardly people's participation is a thing which I think should be made integral part of that. I could only see, just role of CSOs and communities mentioned in a single line. So my humble submission here is that we should now, it is a high time that we should involve communities and people in a big way as an integral part of whatever we are planning for the wetlands. Then only we can, re-wet, reforest or restore these things. For example, I will give you a very one simple example from my past experience. You must be knowing, Singapore and how it was dependent on Malaysia for its water. So in the beginning also, there were only three reservoirs there in Singapore. Now they are having 17, some man-made and some natural. But at that time when it was dependent on Malaysia for water, at that time, all its reservoirs, they used to, have that lock and key approach for that. But slowly, if you will read the story of Singapore's water management, it's a very interesting one. How, they started with information, education and communication campaigns with the people. How they, started making their people understand the value of water, the value of their water bodies and ease of things. And slowly, they started people associating with their programs, and finally, people's active participation in that. So that ultimate object is that whatever wetlands are there, water bodies are there, people should not only enjoy them, start enjoying them, but also, with that enjoyment comes the responsibility. So a responsible enjoyment, so that they understand their values, they take all out efforts to preserve and conserve these wetlands. So this is high time, in my opinion, that awareness and education about the wetlands to every stakeholder must start earnestly. So I would like to put forward here a few of the ideas. Number one is that understanding the degree of difficulty. Let us face it. I don't know, today we are celebrating it in a very big way, but how many people of India, how many commoners, how many actual people, whose livelihoods is dependent on wetlands, understand that today is the World Wetland Day, and today this is my responsibility. This is my, kind of role which I have to not only carry on, but I have to give it to my coming generation. I think there is a lot to be done. So technicalities of wetland management are still beyond the reach and understanding of the people who live in and around the wetlands. Very recently, I saw a portal on wetlands. It's available on ministry's website. And it was very real thing, very welcoming thing there. You get all the information about these wetlands. Only thing is that, we have to learn how to propagate it so that, people understand. And if I think all of you must have seen that portal, but there are so many things to be added into that. And how can we make these all information people friendly and people know, like our friends here, young friends, they use social media so much. How can they popularize these all kind of portals? For example, I will give you one small example. We have in Jal Shakti Ministry have a dashboard on Jal Jeevan Mission. If you simply type JJM, Jal Jeevan Mission dashboard, it comes on Google, and you can see tap water connections, how many tap water connections has been provided, whether to schools, Anganwadis, other places, or to your household of your village. You can see. First, map of India comes, then you can go down to your state, then to the district, then to the village level. So can similarly, a user-friendly portal can be developed and can be, tell each and every people that this is the wetland, this is the importance of it. These are the steps, how people can contribute towards its conservation. So understanding the degree of difficulty, how to make people aware of it, and to tell people how they can help in this regard will, I think, be a very important thing. Second thing is that, we must understand what are the threats and what we are doing for these things, like, alteration of natural hydrological regimes, we all are aware, the catchment degradation, pollution. Catchment degradation, since I have been working in government for many years, and I was in Singapore as well for 2-3 years during my research. So if we learn from Singapore all the time, especially in Maharashtra, in the summer months, we understand the scarcity of water is such a big issue. In India at this moment, more than 256 districts are water stressed. So if a small country, a city state like Singapore can increase its catchment area from 30% to nowadays 80%, why cannot in India, we can have so many things on catchment upgradation. Similarly, pollution, over harvesting of resources, unregulated tourism, climate change, these all things are there, which we have to tell people, if we don't understand, we don't take precautionary measures, then tomorrow it's going to be very difficult. So another thing, very important thing is the, water loop management, how well we are understanding, about the responsibilities in our work area. So a very small example I tell you, which we are facing now. In Jal Jeevan Mission, the mission is that by 2024 December, we will be providing 55 liters per capita per day to each and every person, every household. Now imagine that in India, if population is 130 crore, and if I take that roughly 100 crore people live in rural areas, you multiply 100 crore with 55 liters. That means 55 billion liters per day water is coming as a grey water waste. And what we are doing for these things. So these are challenges, wetlands areas are simply where water, controls everything. So all these aspects, whether we take grey water, black water, used water, rainwater, all kinds of water, these we should understand that a water loop mechanism and how everything is integrated. One more few just suggestions I would like here to give. In Swachh Bharat, we saw that a magical, that chain of the Prime Minister, Chief Ministers, District Magistrates, and Village Mukhya Sarpanch. That works very well. If we want to implement some kind of strategies for Swachh Bharat. So similar thing, my opinion, if for wetland management, for preservation, if political will, everybody knows, is very important, and there is no dearth of political will. But if we can somehow, make it a program which is of interest of a district collector or a village sarpanch or village people, then it will give it a huge acceleration. Similarly, in Swachh Bharat, I saw, and in Jal Jeevan Mission also, like you will be surprised to know that around 2018-19, we were having more than 5 lakh volunteers. We used to call them Swachhagrahis to work in each and every village of India. And nowadays in Jal Jeevan Mission, we have trained roughly 9 lakh women who can test quality of water by using field test kits. So can similar kind of arrangement with Ministry of Environment we can do, where in each and every village, or wherever we prioritize what kind of wetlands are there, can we have at that field level force who knows about their wetlands, who can educate people, teach people. We can take this entire knowledge to the village level or local level. Next thing which I understand is that bringing these issues into the limelight through mass media, social media, and all these things. So this becomes very important, that sometimes being very conservationalist, we abhor these things like making brand ambassadors and these all other things. But it helps, if we want to take our message to all the people, it helps to have some kind of brand ambassadors and the people whose voices society listens. And one more thing which we did in Swachh Bharat, and which I think is very useful for wetland conservation, is that using, students, NSS students, NCCs, NYKS, and other things, utilizing that entire youth power towards it. So we used this in a very big way in Swachh Bharat, and I think this is an idea. And I know so many universities, colleges, students are doing this. But most often it becomes, once in a year exercise, and especially an exercise which happens in and around 2nd of February. Next thing which I want to say that, and many people are doing, but I think as a communication toolkit, social media, infographics, these things, can we have certain kind of mechanism? Can every school, every college have a few people who are running it throughout the year? Similarly, one more thing which we understood is that, we need to have the keep Budge alive all the year. Like we know, it happens like World Water Day is 20th of March. It happens like an one-day event. Similarly, in Swachh Bharat, we used to have 2nd of October. Similarly, 8th of March. So these events, they normally become that day specific. Similarly, is for this 2nd of February. Can we have a chain of events, where we keep on doing these all things at different places? I understand that, there are, I think, more than 60 or 70 Ramsar approved wetlands in India, but can we have similar kind of chain, and who can coordinate? I think Ministry of Environment can do it, so that it becomes a annual affair, a regular affair, so that people all the time are conscious about these all things. Finally, anything, either wetland protection or Swachh Bharat or Jal Jeevan, cannot be done by a single ministry, single department, or a single resource pool. It has to be everybody's business. How we can involve other people? Like in India, my guru used to say that in India, the most difficult part is that two computers don't talk to each other. So can we make all the departments, all the ministries, all the private sector, public sector, all a part of this campaign for conservation of wetlands? We did it very successfully in Swachh Bharat. We in fact had a separate budget head for that, and we asked other ministries, other departments to contribute and to make Swachhata an integral part of this through Swachhata Pakhwada, Swachhata action plans, and other things. So this is just a humble suggestion to the people who manage it or who make policies for it, that can we make it everybody's business. And finally, for any success, and if we are losing 35% of wetlands in 50 years, and this is so alarming, and our life depends on that, can we have four important things for this, which I can see. Number one is the sustained amount of political interest in that. Some political leadership is essential, like we have seen in Swachh Bharat, we have seen in Jal Jeevan Mission, we have seen in Ujjwala and other schemes, some kind of sustained interest of the political masters there. Second important thing is that the public financing. I don't know, I'm not an expert in this. I don't know how much financing we are doing towards conservation and other things. Then third important thing is the partnership. As I said, making it everybody's business. Can we have partners in different sectors who we can collaborate with this? I think the academicians, the students can do a lot in this regard. Many times I would encourage, the young students to take their projects, their undergraduate, postgraduate projects on wetlands and other things with the help of corporates and others. Of course, I understand that the faculty can, coordinate these all things. But finally, last thing which I again like to re-emphasize is the people's participation. People's participation is very important, and until and unless people don't take the cause as their own, it is going to be very, very, very difficult. So, in India, we have right to information, right to know. We know about the value of transparency and accountability. So my humble request will be, the young students, they take these all things, wetland actions for people and nature to everybody. So that ultimately all the people, we people living in cities, we people studying in bigger educational institutions, we know about these all issues. But the person who is living in that wetland, who is earning his daily wage from resources in and around, how in what way we are involving this in all these things. You must be the students of anthropology must be aware about Barrier Alvin and his experiments in tribal areas. Also in India, people have seen the ecosystem, the kind of relationship the tribal people were having with their environment, with forests, that was considered to be very ideal. The people understand how much they have to take from the nature, and how or in what way they have to preserve the nature. I think that kind of understanding, if we have the wetland people, wetland resources, that will be very, very much essential and go to a long way in conserving these all things. I am very sure that every student here who has been joined, and it's very impressive today, I can see the participant number is hovering around 70, and there are many more in the auditorium as well. So those 2021 annual report is out. I think students must have read that. It is very beautiful document available on website about Ramsar and all these things, and the kind of approaches, what kind of things they are planning worldwide to take this movement of on wetland action forward. So I think everybody, if understand these things, percolates, like in my family, this morning I asked my wife and kids, what is today, why it is important day. So people were not aware of these things. So let us start from our school, our college, our family, friends, and other things, and try to make it a moment to preserve and conserve the wetlands. I'll stop here. Thank you so much once again for inviting me. And I hope whatever I said makes some sense. I'm no expert on wetland, but I would be very keen to hear all the experts gathered here. And once again, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. Rightly said. Why can't we make it everybody's business? People's participation is really necessary, be it wetlands or any part of the ecosystem. We need to start participation. So thank you so much, sir. It was really nice having you. And thank you for giving the keynote address. We have learned a lot. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you very much.
Moving ahead, we have Mr. Ashish Lawyer, who is going to take Dr. Kodaka Memorial Lecture. Mr. Ashish Lawyer has been a birder since the age of 10 years when he was in Akola city in Maharashtra. He graduated from BITS Pilani, getting BTech in Mechanical Engineering and MSc with honors in economics. He worked as a financial consultant in highly reputed organizations like Lehman Brothers, New Jersey, and in Bank of America, Wall Street Systems, etc. In New York, USA for 15 years, during which he got attracted to Sri Sri Ravi Shankar Ji's Art of Living Foundation and is still working as a full-time faculty. After coming back to India, he got inspiration from Sri Sri Ravi Shankar Ji and decided to use Art of Living for environmental conservation. He moved to Bijnor in Uttar Pradesh and focused on conservation of Heatherfoot wetland located near Hastinapur Wildlife Sanctuary. I'm very happy to inform you all that through his efforts for the past many years, This wetland has received the status of Ramsar site in April 2021. I now request Ashish Ji to deliver Dr. Kodaka Memorial Lecture.
Thank you. And it is indeed a pleasure to be here. I hope I'm audible to everybody and you can hear me. Thank you very much for inviting me for this prestigious lecture. I'm really humbled to speak on this occasion of this very important and special occasion of International Wetland Day. This year is even more special because the wetland, Haidarpur wetland has been declared as a Ramsar site. Recently the proclamation was made, and that gives me immense satisfaction that all the effort of these years has gone through. And I think it is just the start of a very beautiful journey. So let me start with introducing, talking about Haidarpur wetland a little bit. It is a vast area spread over almost 6,900 hectares and covers two districts of Muzaffarnagar and Bijnor in Uttar Pradesh. And its location was such that it was largely hidden from the outside world, in the sense that a lot of birders and nature lovers used to pass through that area but would not realize the full potential, or because its visibility was not there. Many years back, when I moved to Bijnor and I started commuting and passing through the barrage bridge, I started noticing huge flocks of painted storks and bar-headed geese, and that is what attracted me to the place. We have almost 325 species of birds recorded here, 40 species of fish, 9 species of turtles have been found, and with some endangered species like palm deer, gharial, and most importantly, Gangetic dolphin is also found here. So this place is a host to the state bird of Uttar Pradesh, Saras strain, state animal, the palm deer, and the national aquatic species, Gangetic dolphin. You know, it's a very critical and important wetland area, and I'm very glad that it's been taken up for conservation, or at least declared as a Ramsar site. So moving on to my efforts with the community here. I would like to say that my experience has been connecting to the local people through spiritual programs of Art of Living. Art of Living has programs of courses designed for different strata of society, and some of them are for rural youth. Wetland area is surrounded by almost 12 villages, and a lot of youngsters in these villages are there who are looking for a proper career or a job. And usually all they can think of is going into an army or a police force, or to get into some kind of a government job. And the rate of success there is hardly 1 or 2%. That is 1 or 2% of youth manage to get those kind of jobs. So when I started touring the wetland area, I came across many of these youth who were just whiling away their time around, roaming around in nature, playing or running, doing exercises and things like that. I gathered a few of them and I started an Art of Living program with them called Navchetna Shibir. In this program, what we do is we make them go through some pranayama, meditation, yoga techniques, and at the same time, we empower them to take responsibility for themselves and their surroundings. And we encourage them to take up a seva project, a service activity. And it came to my mind, why don't I take this conservation of wetland and as a service activity for them and connect them to the wetland, give them some knowledge about biodiversity and bird watching. And we started with that. So it was a 5-day, 7-day workshop that I conducted. Children just loved it because there are some games and processes, and it was the first time they were doing meditation, and it was a very revealing experience for me how children very naturally connected to all this. And as part of this workshop, then I started taking them on field trips for bird watching. I started introducing different species of birds and started with very basic birding. But I was so surprised that they had so much of curiosity about nature, and all they lacked was just some education or guidance. As I started showing them birds, they would ask more, and they were very keen observers. Children, I think, are very keen observers. They're very curious, and bird watching just came naturally to them. I started with a group of 10, And I'm very glad to say that 3 of them are becoming very good bird watchers, and they're contributing actually to the daily checklist of the wetland. So we started our journey like that. Every day in the morning, we would get together and do our sadhana, which means we would do yoga, pranayama, meditation. And as we used to come out of meditations, we would start becoming aware of these beautiful sounds of birds in the wetland. It was the month of April, May, June, where birds are very vocal as well. So it was a very beautiful morning experience, which everybody still remembers. And then we would go on a field trip for an hour into the wetland. This sparked their interest, and then I also started encouraging them by giving out their stories to the media, which they started publishing it. Then on World Wetland Day like this, the Forest Department of Uttar Pradesh gave them certificates of encouragement, which they were very proud to show to their parents and other people in their villages. Initially, they were very shy about taking up bird watching because they would get teased by other children. They would find it funny, but as their media coverage increased, as stories about them were being published, they were being written about, they felt a lot of confidence, and they started seeing value in it. So, first thing of starting with the community was engaging the local youth, I feel, and making them realize the importance of this wetland and giving them some education. COVID times actually helped us because children's schools were closed and they had plenty of time on their hands, so they could give more time, and I could also be with them almost every day. So what I feel is connecting with the people is very important, and spiritual programs help a lot. Spiritual programs like Art of Living Foundations, and I'm sure there are many others. These programs play a very important part in establishing that initial connection and trust with the local community. It tells them that we are here for you and we are here to contribute something to their life. And it is much more than just a job or a livelihood mechanism. So once they bonded with me, once they connected to me, then they would sort of do anything for me. Like they would, they really enjoyed spending time with me. So the basic thing is to establish a connection. So I've seen many other organizations come and organize workshops for people, but I feel that sense of connection is not there in that. So to bond with the local community and to establish a connection and a level of trust, is also very important. Secondly, I believe what is needed is consistency. Like I would go on bird watching field trips with these children almost every day. If you just give them a workshop and lead them like that, it would not work. I feel you need to be there holding hands, at least initially for first few months, to trigger their interest in the subject and to help them learn. This is very essential that we be consistent with them. At least once a week follow-up is essential. Another motivating thing for them was to get some credit for their work and certificates of acknowledgement. That plays a role too in motivating, because in small towns, villages, especially in communities, if they have a sense of achievement in society, of having contributed to something, that really motivates them, I think. And this played a very important role, that it boosted their self-confidence and self-esteem, that the knowledge that they have about that area is something worth appreciating. Because we have to realize that these people live there and they are so well versed with the ecology, ecosystem, the trails, and how nature works and all that. And we should give due credit and respect to them for that. Fourthly, I think if there are some monetary benefits, that of course plays a huge part. So what happened was, one of the youth that was a part of our team, he became a very good bird watcher, and he's now started working as a nature guide or a bird guide there at the wetland. And he's also earning good money, and that has boosted his confidence, and he's now seriously taking it up. Not just him, his doing good is actually encouraging other youth of the area to come forward. And now they're approaching us and saying, "Yeah, hame bhi kuch seekhna hai. We also want to do something like this. You take a class for us also." Initially we had to go and reach out to them, and now all of them are approaching us for training. So these are few things which really help me in connecting with the local people, community around the wetland. Apart from this, for the community engagement, I also did some workshop for local boatmen, the boat operators who work on the river Ganga. They run dolphin safari. I gave them an introduction to bird watching, and they've learned the names of some 20-25 birds. And when the tourists come, they show them around, and when they share the knowledge about birds, they get tips well, so their income have increased. They also feel happy about that. The third thing I would say is to tie up with local schools. We host a lot of children trips, educational trips here. Earlier, there was no place nearby where schools would take their students on an educational trip, and we always encourage that. So that spreads the message of an awareness about the wetland. So that is also a very good form of engagement with the community. So, to take them on a field trip, through a guided bird watching field trip, I feel is more that sparks more interest and curiosity, I have seen. Of course, other things like painting competitions and essay competitions and all, they do spread awareness, but nothing replaces the on-the-field experience with birds, with wildlife. When they see it, and then you explain the ecology and how plants and animals interact with each other, that is always a hands-on practical experience. That's much more preferable, I think. Another engagement was with the local media. Media people do help in spreading awareness about the wetland, and they made people of Muzaffarnagar and Bijnor aware of what they have in themselves. So I would go and shoot small videos and photographs every day, and on every occasion I release them to the media. And I would give them news bites. I created news around water bird census or some rare bird finds or some events that we have, and I made sure that local media people had access to that information with good photographs, because this is what started popularizing the place as a wetland. Now this word known as wetland has come in people's terminology, which was largely missing so far in this area. So local news media played a big role as well. Third, and another thing was use of social media, and like WhatsApp and Facebook and Twitter. I'm not personally very active in all of that, but then I was fortunate to collaborate with people who are active, and I gave them daily bites and feeds, and through some senior forest service officers, some media people, and some very active Facebook people, they have started releasing news bites about Hyderpur wetland on a regular basis, and that has made a big difference also in creating awareness. So then attracting tourists also played an important role, because when tourists visit a particular wetland, I feel they sort of keep an eye on the place, and which encourages the forest department for its upkeep. So earlier, when tourists used to arrive at the place, I would be very disturbed, because that inevitably resulted in the habitat being disturbed. And I was very reluctant initially when I saw that tourism was being promoted, and I thought this will really ruin the habitat of a lot of birds. But slowly I made peace with that fact, and I realized that even if 1% of the land which was exposed to tourism is disturbed, it actually contributes to 99% of the area being conserved. So, and now I'm seeing that benefit of tourism as well. Another engagement is with the birding community at large throughout the country, through WhatsApp groups and social media. And also very important role was played by eBird, the website where bird watchers put their daily observations. And I have personally experienced how that really helped in making everybody aware of this place and its importance actually. Years back, I started uploading checklists from the wetland, and that brought this place. This place got noticed by some prominent bird watchers and scientists in the country, and they kind of started connecting with me. I started and guiding me as well. I took a lot of guidance from all of them, and eBird was a very valuable tool. So now, for last 2 years especially, we built a very rich database on eBird of the wetland. Of all the 324 species, we have exhaustive data, and this is really helpful. So for community engagement, these are my takeaways, that we need to connect with the local people. Spiritual programs help a lot in that, and to combine knowledge about nature and birds with some spiritual program makes our job very easy. And engaging all different stakeholders and getting all the help you can from different people. We cannot leave out anybody. As previous speakers have also noted, it's not a job of one person, one department, one organization. If we have to work for nature, for wetlands, for birds, for biodiversity and climate change, we all have to come together. Government agencies, forest departments, NGOs, research institutes, local community people, and passionate nature lovers and bird watchers. Students, media, everybody has a role, and we need to coordinate with everyone. Apart from this, for the Ramsar site, so this is all I wanted to talk about, the community engagement, and very briefly I'll touch upon the Ramsar declaration that happened. There were few criteria which this wetland meets for the Ramsar declaration. I believe there are 10 criteria based on which a wetland can be declared as a Ramsar site, and if it fulfills any one of them, it qualifies. And I'm glad to share Heatherpur wetland actually fulfills 5 of those criteria. One was the presence of more than 20,000 migratory birds every year for last 3 years. So our bird count resulted in a count of more than 30,000 birds almost every year. Second is the presence of some endangered and rare species of birds like Indian skimmer, bristle grass bird. These birds are present here. That was well documented. So that satisfied another criteria. One more criteria is if more than 1% of the global population of particular species visits the wetland. So we have a huge population of grey-lag goose, almost 3,000, 3,500 of them. Ferruginous ducks, 4,000 ferruginous ducks have been recorded. So there are 2-3 such species which come here in very big numbers, and that satisfied the Ramsar criteria. Presence of other endangered form of life forms like swarm deer, gharial, gangetic dolphin. This is another criteria. If other forms of wildlife are dependent on a wetland, it can be declared as a Ramsar site. And one more criteria is if some critical species is dependent on the wetland for an important part of its life cycle. We have documented breeding of Indian grassbird here, which is a very rarely found bird, and it breeds in this wetland, in the grassland area or in the wetland. So we documented that, and that was the fifth criteria as well. So these are some of the criteria which went into declaring this wetland as a Ramsar site. So I would encourage all of the students here, especially, do give bird watching a try. Go on field trips with some guided, with experienced bird watchers. They'll teach you. All you need is a pair of binoculars and a guidebook. And once you develop a passion for birds or wildlife, you're bound to conserve that. You feel a sense of belongingness. And also when you practice some spiritual programs, so if you do yoga, meditation, what that does is it eliminates stress from your system. And when you remove stress from your system, you feel a connection to everything around you, sense of belongingness. And then you automatically take up conservation. It becomes easier. So to all the faculty members, to esteemed guests, and to students and dear friends, that's my message. Let's all come together. This nature's bounty is for us to enjoy, and we can only enjoy it if we conserve it. So thank you very much for inviting me. Thank you, Mr. Sanjay Joshi, for reaching out and giving me this opportunity to share my experience and some thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Rightly said by Mr. Ashish Ji that we need to make people aware about the importance of wetland. And I'm sure most of the young minds that are present over here are inspired by your story. We all have to come together. That's the aim, basically. Thanks for shedding light on Ramsar criteria as well. It was really nice to have you in our conference. Thank you so much. And I'm definitely going to watch some birds near my house or anywhere. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Moving ahead, I would like to welcome Mr. Manas Manjrekar, who is the Deputy Director of Mangrove Foundation, and who is Mangrove Foundation is basically our co-sponsor. So Mr. Manas Manjrekar did his MSc in Zoology, Oceanography from Jhunjhunwala College itself. In late 2009, he joined the Wildlife Institute of India as a research fellow under the All India Tiger Monitoring Project. During this period, he worked in the Sundarbans Tiger Reserve, West Bengal, and Pilibhit Tiger Reserve, Uttar Pradesh. In 2011, he joined the Gaur reintroduction project in Bandhavgarh Tiger Reserve under WII, in which he completed doctoral research. In October 2016, he joined the Mangrove Cell under the GIZ project. Since 2017, he is working in the Mangrove Foundation under Mangrove Cell and presently working as Deputy Director for Research and Capacity Building Programs. He coordinates the implementation of all the Mangrove Foundation research project and capacity building and awareness programs regarding coastal and marine biodiversity in Maharashtra. May I have Mr. Manas Manjrekar right now?
So, respected dignitaries, respected teachers, professors, and colleagues, and all my friends, a very good morning to all of you. First of all, I would like to say that the Mangrove Foundation is extremely pleased to be a part of this conference on the occasion of World Wetlands Day. And on a personal note, I'm very happy to be back at my college. I did my MSc from here, and coming back here has brought out many sweet memories. So I hope that I keep coming back here for such occasions. So many prominent speakers before me have talked about the importance of wetlands, and I'll be just giving a very brief introduction to the work of Mangrove Cell and the Mangrove Foundation for the conservation work that we are doing for the mangrove wetlands in the state of Maharashtra. So yeah, next please. Yeah, so Mangrove Cell, some of you may know, is a specialized unit of the Maharashtra Forest Department, and it was created in the year 2012. Specifically for the protection of the mangroves and the associated marine biodiversity in the state of Maharashtra. So Mangrove Foundation is a registered society which functions under the umbrella of the Mangrove Cell, Maharashtra Forest Department. It was established in 2015, and basically the establishment of the foundation was undertaken to give a operational flexibility to the Maharashtra Forest Department so that it can take up a lot of work regarding research and livelihood development and so on. Next. So today we have around 324 square kilometers of mangroves in Maharashtra as per the recent Forest Survey of India report, which was released a few weeks back for 2021. And of this total mangrove area in Maharashtra, around roughly around 17,000 hectares is on government land, which the government is trying to get declared as reserve forest. But around 13,000 hectares is also on private land. So it's a very huge chunk, you can see. Next. So talking about some of the activities of Mangrove Cell and Mangrove Foundation. So Mangrove Cell being the Forest Department unit, the major activities concern protection of mangrove areas. So one of the major activities especially in the MMR region is the removal of encroachments, because even today we have a lot of encroachments on mangrove areas. So over the years, many thousands of encroachments have been removed by the Mangrove Cell, and I mean this is a work which is undertaken every year. In some sensitive areas, the Mangrove Cell is also planning to build a protective wall. So this work is ongoing. Next. Yeah, next. Yeah. Another important activity is regeneration efforts. So mangrove plantation is undertaken every year and all across the 7 coastal districts of Maharashtra. The Mangrove Cell has many nurseries of mangrove seedlings all across the 7 coastal districts. And next. And since 2012, more than 18,000 hectares across the state has been undertaken under, mangrove plantation has been undertaken on this area. More than 120 sites have been covered. And this work is an ongoing process. So, yeah, next. And Mangrove Cell also manages 2 marine protected areas in the state of Maharashtra. One of them is our very own Thane Creek Flamingo Sanctuary, which was established in 2015, rather declared in 2015. And the other one is the Malvan Marine Sanctuary, which some of you may know is famous for its corals, and was the first marine protected area in Maharashtra. So, yeah, next. Coming to Mangrove Foundation, one of the major, or rather the foremost activities of Mangrove Foundation is the implementation of sustainable livelihood activities in the mangrove and associated habitat of Ishurine habitat in Maharashtra. So next, please. So the idea behind these activities is that the local people, the coastal villagers, should derive some monetary benefits from these areas, rather mangrove areas, because when they do that, only then will their perception regarding mangroves will change. So because otherwise, because of the protection activities, you can't cut mangroves, or you can't have agriculture there or any other developmental activities. So the perception among the local communities earlier was that mangroves are kind of a problem for them, like mangroves ek shaap hai, something like that. But so through this program, we are trying to change their perspective. So we have many activities such as crab farming, oyster farming, next, cage culture activities for fishes, next. We have ornamental fishery activities. All of these activities are done by the local communities, and we give them technical guidance in the field. We have also mangrove tourism. So, yeah, next. So, as of last year, the financial year, we have around 175 such units ongoing in different districts of Maharashtra. And right now, presently, we have around 120 villages which we are covering. We plan to cover many more villages in the upcoming years. And presently, around, more than 3,000 village beneficiaries are involved with us, who are earning some alternative livelihood across these, activities. Next, please. And the revenue generation actually is, this program, this scheme began in 2017. But the first 2 years were for the groundwork, and then finally the revenue generation started coming in 2019 onwards. So like slowly but steadily, the revenue being generated, the amount which is earned by these communities is increasing. So you can see in 1920 it was around 20 lakhs, and in this present financial year we have already crossed 50 lakhs. So we keep on. We hope that we keep growing in the same way. Yeah, next. Coming to research, so commissioning research activities, encouraging research activities is another major objective of the Mangrove Foundation. And presently we have various research projects in collaboration with many government and non-governmental institutions and organizations. We have projects going on mangroves, avifauna, sea turtles, elasmobranchs, next, corals, cetaceans, sea snakes, otters, and many more. So that is one aspect that is a very important one of Mangrove Foundation. And we also, coordinate the implementation of 2 conservation programs across Maharashtra. One is the famous olive ridley turtle conservation program. It was started in 2002 by the Forest Department and the NGO Sahyadri Nisarga Mitra. And since then, it has been ongoing and it has been growing in strength. Since 2016-17 onwards, the Mangrove Foundation is imparting technical help in this and also providing funding support. Next. And yeah, another important program is a compensation scheme, which we are running in collaboration with the fisheries department. So here what we do is that we encourage the fisheries, the fishermen all across Maharashtra. We have had many workshops with them, many awareness programs, and they are encouraged to release any animals which are protected under the Wildlife Protection Act, such as sea turtles, whale sharks, dolphins, porpoises, and guitar fishes. So till now, 260 such animals have been released back to the sea. Their life has been saved, and we compensate these fishermen because they have to cut their net. So they, of course, incur some net damage. So we compensate them. Till now, more than 40 lakhs rupees in compensation has been paid by the Mangrove Foundation. And through this scheme, we have built a lot of good networking among fishermen. So that's a good thing. Yeah. Next. And the communication awareness programs are very important. So we undertake a lot of communication awareness programs across the years. And we have also cleanup drives, especially mangrove cleanup drives. Mangrove cleanup drives and beach cleanup drives, mangrove cleanup drives, especially in the MMR region. And these mangrove cleanup drives have been, a Limca book of records has been created. Next, please. So, these are also an ongoing activity. It happens every year. I mean, today we are going to actually sign an MOU with many individuals and organizations which are involved in these cleanup activities in Mumbai region. So we hope that we can carry on these activities in the future. Next. And we have a state-of-the-art coastal and marine biodiversity center at Airoli. Some of you might be knowing. And so, I mean, because of the COVID pandemic, it has been on and off, closed or open. But we hope that it opens up for the public soon. And if you haven't visited it, please do visit it. It's a place worth visiting. Next, please. We have a quarterly magazine, and this magazine and all other our publications, reports are available on our website. So do visit our website. Next. And sorry. And in 2020, the Mangrove Foundation and the Mangrove Cell did get the Earth Heroes Award. Earth Guardian. Anyways. Yeah, next please. I'm done. Yeah. Next. Yeah. Next. So yeah, I mean, we have a YouTube channel, a Twitter account. So do follow us on social media, and off and on. I mean, throughout the year we have many opportunities for not just. I mean, we have some limited opportunities for internships and volunteers, but we do have job opportunities at Mangrove Foundation. So keep checking our website, and I mean, we'd like to collaborate and I mean, from you and have you for other programs also. So once again, I thank Paryavaran Dakshata Mandal for this opportunity. And as I said, I'm very happy to be back at my college. So thank you very much.
Moving ahead, I would like to call Dr. Kumar Narayan, who is a part of ATBS. Dr. Menon is a director at the Institute of Advanced Research in Interdisciplinary Sciences, SCI, Mumbai, and associate professor, Pharma Analytical Sciences. Kaushal Kendra Ramniranjan College, Matunga. He's a trustee of Trust Thane. Dr. Menon has a vast teaching experience since 1983, teaching undergraduate, postgraduate classes, and as a guest faculty at different institutes. Dr. Menon is a recognized PhD guide in zoology, bioanalytical sciences since 1998. He is a member of Research Advisory Committee at University of Mumbai, NMIMS, University Ville Parle, Dr. D.Y. Patil University, Nehru, etc. Dr. Menon was Executive Committee member of BNHS for 2 terms. He was a chairperson on Nature Education Subcommittee and took a lead in establishing Conservation Education Center at Goregaon during his tenure. He was also a member of Project Tiger Evaluation Committee at Kanha National Park. He holds Indian patent for herbal mosquito repellent. So may I please have Dr. Kumar Narayan Menon over here to shed some light on ATBS. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Principal Dr. Davda sir, my own teacher, Dr. Usha Mukundan ma'am, the management of this college, because we as ATBS have been collaborating with this college not just once, it has been since several years that we have been having programs here. Their association is really valid and very valuable. Dr. Valavarkar sir, President of Paryavaran Dakshata Mandal, we are very happy to associate with you like every year for programs related to environment. My colleagues and other audience who is connected to us online today. As our keynote speaker just mentioned, it's a paradox that we have to remember our ponds, lakes, rivers, and our coasts on this day. And then there is no program following it. And as a teacher, I always used to wonder about this, because in the class we teach that water is the main component of our human body, is the main component of this planet. It's one of the nectar of our life, the lifeline of our breathing, but we never felt that wetlands need to be conserved. We never realized the relationship, the intricate balance that we manage through this Mother Earth with wetlands. And I'm really happy that Paryavaran Dakshata Mandal has come out with this newsletter with the cover page of a leucistic common kingfisher, or the small blue kingfisher. I think the camera should focus on this. This is a ubiquitous bird of all wetlands, ponds, lakes, and even wells. So this bird, as you can see, has lost its feathers color due to a very genetic problem. That's a mystery of nature. And as teachers, these are the things that we should be bringing into the classroom. And Association of Teachers in Biological Sciences has just that as our goal. Take the teacher out of the classroom and connect the teacher with the society. And I'm sure in these days, social responsibility of the teacher is very important. And please recognize ATBS as a platform that you can use for the social connectivity. So these programs that we hold with many of the other organizations are just a part of this particular effort from us. ATBS started in 2006 as a requirement for the biology Olympiad movement in the country. But today it has grown much bigger. After 1.5 decades of our activity, we feel that we should connect more with the society, bring the biology teachers out to the classrooms. So we hold workshops, we hold programs like this. We also have a program planned for the Mangrove Day. And we also have several workshops where we train the teachers how to make biology more interesting, get people interested in biology, because biology is something that will make us connect to nature very fast. And we need today people to realize this connection. And I'm really happy that organizations like Paryavaran Dakshata Mandal and many others, both regional, local, and even national, are doing quite a lot towards this connection to be established and made more stronger. So I request all of you to visit our website. It's very simple, www.atbs.in. Connect to that website. And if you are a biology teacher, especially college teacher, definitely join us, take our membership. And one more, using this platform, I would like to request any of those biology students, teachers, faculty members who are listening to this program, that if you have a program which can be spearheaded by your organization, your department, or yourself in your local area, any part of our country, please connect with us. We will try to help you out to bring out reality to your program, because we want to connect to every nook and corner of India, which we have not been able to do. And we are looking forward to your initiative in this regard, so that we can connect to India, to every college teacher who is doing biology teaching in the class. Thank you. And I really wish that all of you take membership in ATBS. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. It was really nice listening to you. Moving ahead, I would like to welcome Dr. Sanjay Joshi, who will talk about Paryavaran Dakshata Mandal as well as Clean Creek movement. Before that, let me introduce him. He is a teacher in biology at B.N. Bandodkar College of Science, Science Thane from 1982 to 2011. Then he moved to K.J. Somaya College of Science, Vidya Vihar, Mumbai to postgraduate department to teach MSc Environmental Science. Currently, Dr. Joshi is a visiting faculty in the Department of Environmental Studies, SK Somaya College, Somaya Vidya Vihar University. He is one of the founder members of Paryavaran Dakshata Mandal and is currently working as a director, Green Career Courses and Green Living Consultancy. Dr. Joshi has written over 850 articles on nature and environment, mostly in Marathi and few in English language. These are published in various print media, expert in waste management and biodiversity, as well as wildlife management. I'd like to call Mr. Dr. Sanjay Joshi, sir. Please shed some light on.
Thank you. Thank you, Shamita, for Shamita, right? Or Samita. Okay. There is one Shamita and Samita. So, yeah. Thank you very much for such an elaborate introduction. Actually, this introduction to Paryavaran Dakshata Mandal and Clean Creek movement was to be given by my friend and colleague, Professor Vidyadhar Valavalkar. But since he's having bad throat, he ordered me to give this presentation on Paryavaran Dakshata Mandal and Clean Creek movement. Paryavaran Dakshata Mandal is a registered NGO that was established in the city of Thane in the year 1998-99. And I remember those days I was teaching in Bandodkar Science College, and Vidyadhar Valavalkar was also a student of that college. He was a little junior to me, not much. But then when I joined the college as a teacher, he used to come to me quite often and nag me about starting something about environment, about waste management for Thane city and so on. And one fine day he just came and told me that we are establishing one NGO. The name would be Enviro Vigil or Paryavaran Dakshata Mandal, and you are going to be part of that NGO. So I had no option than to join and join hands with him, and that is how we started work for this NGO. So initially we had decided to do something about waste management in Thane city, and we initiated several campaigns involving the college students, NSS and NCC students. Door-to-door campaigns were organized to make people aware about domestic waste, how to manage it and all that. So this all started in the year 1999, 2000, during that particular period. Eventually, we were able to establish a common biomedical waste, that is hospital waste treatment and disposal facility for Thane Municipal Corporation, because in the year 1998, the Ministry of Environment and Forest Government of India had published the rules for setting up or for handling and managing the biomedical, that is hospital waste, which was a very crucial problem. And we were fortunate to get this opportunity to establish this common facility where waste from various hospitals will be brought in, and it will be treated as per the norms given by Central Pollution Control Board and managed by Maharashtra Pollution Control Board, that is MPCB. Eventually, our main focus was to spread awareness among the masses, among the communities, as both the speakers in this session spoke about community participation. We also thought that whatever environmental issues or the problems which are there are because of the people like you and me. So it becomes our own responsibility to take initiative to solve these problems or the issues. So right from beginning, our focus has been on community participation, and we initiated several campaigns for this. Now it is 23rd year since our inception of Paryavaran Dakshata Mandal, and we have had practically 20 different projects, 20 different projects or initiatives for spreading awareness among the masses, among the school and college students through environmental education and research. That is our main intention. We started this with a mission to empower today's youth to take the challenges of sustainable development and to make themselves aware and available for solving various environmental issues and problems. There is a list of projects or the initiatives which we have undertaken. I will just highlight few of them. One ambitious project, I already told about, spoke about common biomedical waste treatment facility. It is still running in full-fledged, and as of now, we have about 2,000 plus hospitals from where the waste is collected, brought in, and it is treated as per the standard procedure. One more project I would like to speak about is Devrai. You all are aware about the concept of Devrai, that is sacred grove, where the forest is given special protection, special identity by spreading a belief in the community that some deity, some god or goddess is inhabiting the forest, dwelling the forest, and therefore this forest should not be disturbed. None of the forest components should be harmed in any way. So there is a sort of this, of course, the concept of Devrai or sacred grove is a traditional one. It is not new as such. People have been practicing this for several centuries, I would say. But this project was given the name Devrai. Actually, the forest department of Maharashtra government had brought out one scheme that wherever there are degraded forest lands, and if the institutes or organizations are willing to take it over to develop that forest, they would be given the opportunity. So accordingly, a lot of deliberations, meetings with the forest officials, forest minister were conducted, and the person sitting in the audience, Mrs. Sanjay Joshi, was pioneer. She took this project ahead, and now near Titwala Ganpati temple is very famous. You all must be aware of that. About 5 kilometers from this temple, there is a village called Runde, and there is a big river flowing along Kadu River. So along the bank of this river, we got almost 19 hectares of degraded forest land, which we were handed over by the forest department on a lease basis, and we were required to develop this into a forest. Okay. So for this, lot of efforts, teamwork was done. We had one Mr. Thakre, a retired forest officer, with us to guide us through all this process. And now we have to hand it over to forest department after 7 years of lease. Now it has been 4 years, right, Sangeeta? 5 years. Okay. And now, see, when initially we visited this place, it was a barren land, and now it has grown into a lush green forest. We'll really love it. I invite all of you to visit this place. It is called Devrai, a wonderful initiative by Paryavaran Dakshata Mandal. Then we have Apala Paryavaran magazine, which was released just a short while ago, and Professor Valavalkar has spoken about it. This common biomedical facility that we have in Kalwa near Thane We have developed one theme park, and we have given name Ankur Theme Park to it, where we have some demonstration models. There is a nursery, there is a biocomposting unit, there is a vermicompost unit, there is a biogas model for demonstration. And so far, through these many years, we have had more than 5,000 plus students from various schools and colleges who have visited this place, and they have learned so many things from from actual these field visits. Then we have a School of Environment, Paryavaran Shala, through which we approach various schools in urban as well as the rural areas, and we try to inculcate the interest and sort of what we call as a Nisarga Samskar in the on the minds of these school children, and we have been quite successful in doing this. Every year now, before this pandemic struck, every year we used to have one annual festival called Nisarga Mela, where thousands of school children come together and they take part in various activities. There are demonstrations and various activities through which they get connected to nature and the environment. So these are some of the major initiatives which we have launched or we have taken so far. Apart from that, we also run Green Living Consultancy, through which we approach, the people nowadays. We have realized that people have become aware, more conscious environmentally, but they do not know where to go to get the proper help or support or technical background. So for this Green Living Consultancy is the place where we provide consultancy. We also conduct green audits, environmental audits for educational institutions and for corporates, and also for the societies. So various residential complexes approach us for rainwater harvesting, for taking care of their domestic waste, for creating the biocomposting units in their premises, and so on. So these are some of the initiatives. As I said, there is a long list, and hardly we have any time to go into all those details. So one purpose of celebrating World Wetlands Day every year on 2nd February was on the background of this Clean Creek movement, okay, or cleaning the Thane Creek, cleaning the creek movement that we started in the year 2005. Thane Creek is a vast expanse, vast water body, very famous for various purposes. Once upon a time, it was rich in biodiversity, and it provided livelihood to local fishermen. But then within the last few decades, because of urbanization of Thane city and surrounding area, Navi Mumbai and all different parts of this area, and development of industries. You might be knowing that all along Thane Belapur Road, number of chemical industries and chemical manufacturing industries came up, and they started releasing their effluent without any proper treatment into the creek waters, thereby creating heavy pollution. And apart from that, the creek water, as it is normally when we talk about wetlands are considered as the wastelands, or they were being considered as the wastelands by the people in general. And even the policymakers did not have any attachment or any knowledge about the wetlands. I remember when we started this World Wetland Day conference. This is now 16th conference that we are having here. So for first conference we held in Thane Municipal Corporation, with Thane Municipal Corporation in their own premises, own auditorium. And when we went for discussion, the authorities there did not know what a wetland is. I mean, it was a lack of knowledge, because nobody bothered about a creek or any lake or any water body as such. It was used as a dustbin, literally. Okay, and same thing happened with Thane Creek also. Apart from industrial effluent, which created pollution, which released all the heavy metals and other pollutants into water, there was sewage from the city that was also being released without any treatment. And we know that it is a common habit of the people who are living along the creek to dump their garbage into the creek. So all these three major issues resulted in severe depletion in biodiversity, degradation of the creek, and all that. So we decided to take this up as a challenge and launch this movement, that is a Clean Creek movement. I'll just, can you forward it? I will not go into the technical details. My colleague, Dr. Prasad Karnik, is going to talk about the scientific aspect of this Clean Creek. I will not go into that. I'll focus mainly on participatory movement, community participation that we have been hearing since morning, that how local community or people can help in such kind of initiatives or activities. So when we started with this Clean Creek movement as our campaign, people were a little apprehensive. I mean, even we did not know exactly to begin with what exactly we are going to do. Are we going to take some chemicals into the creek water, spread them along and try to clean the pollutants or get rid of the pollutants, treat that water, something like that? Then after a lot of going through various references, see the Bandorkar Science College in Thane is the zoology department particularly is very famous for vast research on Thane Creek. Many students, PhD students and research scholars have done a lot of research. So we got this benefit. We collected a lot of references, tried to study what was the past status of the creek and how it changed after it was heavily polluted and all that. And taking a clue from there, we decided to spread awareness among the local fishermen communities and all other stakeholders. Okay, and the main what we thought is whatever is being released into the creek water that is creating heavy pollution, that should be stopped. Okay, so instead of literally cleaning the creek, even if we stop dirtying the creek, it will serve the purpose, definitely. We should stop whatever effluents that are being released, or at least treat those effluents properly in a specific manner as per the protocol, and then release them. Treat the sewage in a specific way by having sewage treatment plant, and then release. Make people stop throwing the garbage into the creek or along the banks of the creek. So if we are able to achieve these three success in these three areas, we don't have to do anything to creek water. Creek is a natural water body, and every natural water body or natural ecosystem has its own ability to recover itself from whatever damage. We don't have to do anything. We humans think that okay, we can do this and that, and we'll be able to clean the ecosystem. No, the ecosystems are natural. They have their own ability. They are very strong enough to overcome whatever problems or damage they sustain due to human activities. So the same thing should happen with the creek water. So when we started this initiative, the first conference was held, and to make people aware, we decided to involve the research scholars, the students, because students are our main force, the youngsters like you. So we decided to involve the student community as well, and that's why every year on the occasion of this Wetland Day conference, we encourage students to participate in this conference in the form of posters, papers, or whatever, oral presentations and all that. And apart from that, academicians, the research scholars who are dealing with wetland research on the wetland, various aspects of wetlands, maybe wetland habitats or flora and fauna of the wetlands, the chemistry of wetlands, various aspects, biophysical properties of the wetlands and all that. So, and along with this, the local fishermen communities, because our experience, Dr. Prasad Karnik will be able to highlight, because he has spent almost 40 years of his life in creek, literally in the Thane Creek. So he has vast experience, and he will tell us that the local fishermen have much more knowledge than a research scholar or an academician, because they live with the creek, they are part of the creek, their livelihood is dependent on creek. So that is how we took this. Please just go ahead. Just keep moving ahead. Yeah, please. You'll see all this biodiversity in the creek and all that. Okay, so it is Thane Creek is one of the 500 significant bird conservation sites in India, as Mr. Manjrekar, Dr. Manjrekar has already told us about the importance of Flamingo Sanctuary that is part of Thane Creek, and it is home to about 205 species of birds. And among the major waterfalls spotted in the creek are lesser flamingos, greater flamingos, Asian open-bill stork, white stork, pied avocet, eastern golden plover, ruddy turnstone, etc. So many, please go ahead. Just keep moving. I'll tell you when to stop. Okay, this is what I was talking about. Due to heavy industrialization and mass migration from rural to urban areas, because when the industries grow, obviously it will attract people from rural areas for employment, and that will that resulted in rapid urbanization of Thane city. This created heavy pollution load over the period on creek water, disturbing the ecological balance. Please go ahead. Okay, these are again, I will skip this because Karnik sir is going to talk on these aspects. Just skip that. Okay, so this, in order to make people aware, because again, same point, community participation, involving local communities for this movement is very crucial. So we launched this movement in the year 2005, keeping in view creeks and estuaries in general, and Thane Creek. Our main focus is on Thane Creek, and this celebration or organizing such conference on World Wetlands Day is a part of this Clean Creek movement. Next. So far we have, this is 16th conference. So far we have organized 15 conferences in various colleges. Here is a list of the colleges. I will not read it because due to lack of time. But our main idea was to involve the college, academic institutions who are connected directly or indirectly with the creek, okay, or with the wetland, so that and I think with this Jhunjhunwala College, this is our second time we are having this this conference. Okay, earlier also we had similar conference. So it was already told by Nayak sir in his convener's speech what is the format of this conference. I will not repeat that. So we have received a very good response this year also, and now we have realized one thing, that when we have this event online, we can get participation from various parts of country, and that is what has happened today also. One more thing I would like to talk about is every year, 2 to 3 months before this conference, we collect the water sample from various spots along the creek and analyze them. Their physical and biochemical parameters are analyzed. And again, for this, we take the help of college students. I mean, we have the experts. We have Dr. Pramod Saraskar, we have Dr. Prasad Karnik, who are expert in this, collecting water samples and analyzing them and all that. But again, we want students to take initiative in this. Okay, they should come ahead. They should learn how to collect the water sample, because see, going into the water body, actually collecting water from the tap is very easy. But when you enter into the lake or into the creek and take the water sample, that is altogether different experience, and you should have that experience in your life. Okay, so you can take that ahead further. So this year also, every year we do the same thing. This year also we had students from Jhunjhunwala College who participated in this water sample collection. It was analyzed. The results are now ready, and I think they are going to present, right? Yes. So they are going to present their data today, and we are very eager. We are looking forward to it. What are your findings? So far, we have found one thing, that earlier, initially, when we used to go into creek, of course, Dr. Karnik was and Saraskar sir, they used to go into the creek very frequently, and they used to see a lot of garbage floating on the creek water, even the human excreta. Okay, but now I think that scene has changed quite a bit. So Clean Creek movement campaign that is launched, initiated by Paryavaran Dakshata Mandal, is showing some fruits after 15 years. We have still long way to go. I don't claim that we have achieved 100% success. It will take another maybe 20, 25 years. And now the responsibility is on your shoulder of the youngsters to take this forward, take this ahead. So thank you so much for this opportunity to present the work of Paryavaran Dakshata Mandal and talk about Clean Creek movement. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. We were glad to be a part of the analysis team. Thank you for briefing us with the Clean Creek movement as well. So I would like to call Dr. Prasad Karnik for the scientific perspective of Clean Creek movement. Before that, let me tell you all that Dr. Prasad has a vast experience in laboratories on the field among masses and has been teaching and preaching in the field of pure sciences and applied sciences, including the field of yogic sciences and social physiology, physiology, as well as trained yoga teacher, teaching over 28 years to students and teachers, patients and doctors, urban people and Adivasis, politicians and social workers, etc. Dr. Karnik is deeply involved in the Clean Creek movement of Paryavaran Dakshata Mandal and has written series of articles on Thane Creek titled Maherichik Kadi in Maharashtra Times.
Thank you. So at the end of this day, everyone among you, not only the organizers or the students of RJC College, but everyone present in this virtual platform, on this virtual platform, would know about wetlands and would be able to, I would say, pronounce properly. Of course, it was a Marathi word, but it was Maherchi Khadi. Thank you, Shamita. Change is the only permanent thing. So this year, for a change, I'm here to talk about scientific perspectives of Clean Creek movement without giving the data, because the data would be presented by the students of Ramniranjan Jhunjhunwala College as their research presentation, and that particular data should not be revealed or should not be used elsewhere beforehand. And that is the reason I'm thankful to the students that they have relieved me of this particular duty and responsibility. Next, please. Clean Creek movement, as Dr. Sanjay Joshi sir already has mentioned, that it is not cleaning the creek. We cannot take a broom and any cleaner and clean any water body, or for that matter any natural ecosystem. Any and every natural ecosystem has got innate ability to maintain its status, but we, the only I would say biological factors among any ecosystem, have capacity and capability of not only disrupting our own lives but interfering with the normal ecosystem functioning. And that is why this Thane Creek, thank you Dr. Sanjay Joshi sir, who introduced me as, and I'm with the creek for last 42 years. That is why I can correlate. We had seen the Thane Creek at the epitome of its wealth and its blooming natural status, and now we see it, the current scenario. Nonetheless, our main aim was to connect people with Thane Creek in general, in particular, but with wetlands in general. Now, wetland is there in my backyard also. Any land nearby or adjacent to a well, house well, is also wetland, while a seashore also is a wetland. So, though we are aiming at Thane Creek, on this auspicious day, we should, take into cognizance the natural status of any wetland. So, for years together, we were making great efforts to connect people with this movement and to connect people with the wetlands, but there were no outcomes as we expected. So what we thought is, and what we found is, there was a huge gap between a commoner, a common person, and a scientific fraternity personnel, like a scientist or researcher. Next, please. So we just added scientific approach, scientific attitude, scientific perspective to our movement, and wow, it just clicked. So we are already into effective vigilance of the creek and of the adjacent wetlands. We are into, as Paryavaran Dakshata Mandal, we are into creating awareness through education and research. We just coupled it with our movement. Direct dialogue with the masses on personal ground. I'm with these traditional and local fishermen and other local people, local population for years together. So again, we connected the local people with our Clean Creek movement, and most of us from PDM are teachers, and therefore we know for sure that the best torchbearer to take up anything, any concrete work, is a student. And therefore, of course, we made students as our partners, and we are making it. Next, please. The above photograph is of a conference. Through Clean Creek movement, we not only celebrate and commemorate 2nd February as World Wetlands Day, but 26th July as World Mangrove Day. So above is World Mangrove Day celebration on 26th July. Dr. Arvind Untawale, who was the mangrove person of India, unfortunately, sir, is no more with us now. Another one is then director of Bombay Natural History Society. The lady there in the center is the person of GIZ from Mangrove Foundation then. So what I wanted to highlight here is that scientific perspective cannot be alone taking anything ahead. Social attitude, social approach cannot again take the sole responsibility. So what we are trying to do is, the scientists, the administrators, the local administration, local people, through students. The other photograph is our Khadi Yatra, that is taking common people of Mumbai metropolitan region. These are not only Thaneites, but from all the walks of Mumbai metropolitan region, and we are taking them into Thane Creek. Due to pandemic, we have stopped it, but otherwise it's an ongoing process. So a little bit of scientific attitude, approach, and perspective added great value to our Clean Creek movement. Next, please. Creek survey. As Joshi sir mentioned, myself, Chalaskar sir, or there were many other people who used to go into Thane Creek. I used to go in Thane Creek every year at least for 10 times. Now we have started taking students with us, and again it has made the difference to steer our movement. So last 15 plus years, actually last 17 years, we are doing this creek survey, and it is not only visual survey. We are collecting water and soil samples. We are analyzing it. And now, again, thanks to the local colleges along the creek, the students are taking this particular baton in their hands, and they are under the guidance of teacher, of course, but they are doing the analysis, not only. So collection and analysis by the students. Next, please. Now here you can see we had taken mangrove plantation on one small wetland. It was done mainly by the students, 10 students, few of the common citizens, and few of us from the scientific background. I'm not a scientist, I'm a student, but from scientific background. So we had taken this, and you can see the rope here. So we did the plantation scientifically. We did not teach, we did not preach, but we just undertook this particular activity. 10 students and 10 more other people, 100 saplings, and within 2 years, these mangrove saplings had grown to almost 3 feet plus. Unfortunately, I'm absolutely heartbroken to say these 100 saplings had made a wall, but the local administration, local municipal corporation took it to their heart, and as per their policies, they implemented to have a protective wall, which right now is a concrete wall, and that concrete wall had completely destroyed, taken toll of these 100 mangrove trees, because in 5 years they were almost trees. But I'm sure that these particular activities can be replicated everywhere. I'm aware that on this particular virtual platform, from all over our great nation, students and teachers and many people have joined. So we can do this. Only thing is, it should be done scientifically, properly. And when I say scientifically, I'll just take half a minute more for this particular activity. If you plant mangroves anywhere, they're not going to prosper or grow. If you take any species of mangrove and plant it anywhere, it is not going to take roots. If you are going to plant mangroves or any other, mangroves are the coastal fauna, which is very specific in coastal wetlands. So I'm mentioning these. So when to plant, how to plant, what to plant, if you know, their PDM and our all faculties, they help, and I'm sure that all the colleges, they have this know-how through botany department, through EVS department. So we can do this scientifically. As out of experience, I'm just mentioning this scientific perspective added great value to our Clean Creek movement. Any activity environment related can be done scientifically, properly, and practically. Next, please. So with this, we are now with Ramsar Convention. This particular event can be found on their calendar. We always submit with photographs our report to Ramsar Conventions. We are monitoring, I have already mentioned, for school students too, because earlier we had aimed only at undergraduate and postgraduate students to begin with, only science students. Then accidentally commerce student group approached and we included, because environment is not prerogative of any particular branch of education, and therefore now even school students. Today, 2nd February 2022, for this conference, essay competition was held for school students only. Rather, the documentary making competition was actually aimed at college students, but even few school students had participated and we accepted their entries. So, proceedings with ISBN number, right now we don't print as such, but even on e-journal. And so a student has a publication with ISBN number on that particular publication at undergraduate level. So this particular had made not only our movement popular, but has created immense positive impact and awareness among the masses too. Next, please. Okay, so already I have mentioned about it. Local stakeholders and local population are now with us. Mangrove Foundation, Mangrove Cell, who are otherwise thought to be on the other side of the table, they are with us. They are with students. And today itself, Dr. Manas Manjrekar just mentioned to me that if we can together take it more effectively to the students, then we can have very proper awareness, and what they are doing, we are also trying the same thing. Local stakeholders, if they are provided with livelihoods, they will definitely protect. They are protecting. So scientific approach is added, scientific angle is added. Next, please. Okay, as I already mentioned this, I'll skip. For a change, I am not at all presenting and discussing on the reports and results of our creek analysis this year. What we do is dissolved oxygen, transparency, pH, all these parameters, and there are other n number of parameters for water samples and organic carbon, organic matter, etc. for soil samples. The students of Ramniranjan Jhunjhunwala College, I reiterate, not only have collected the samples, but they have analyzed the samples, and they will be presenting the report in next few minutes. So, responsibility of local population to take this movement ahead scientifically. Next, please. This was Thane Creek yesterday. Next. This is as of today. And next, what we hope is this should be Thane Creek of tomorrow. Combination of technology, science, and of course, nature together. Next, please. Thank you so much. This particular is again another wetland in southern India, a beautiful one. And I hope that our Thane Creek and all other creeks and estuaries remain like absolutely dense forests, because 40 years back, even Thane Creek wetland was a dense forest. It was very difficult to embark on land then. I really hope that you guys, students, and other common people are the force to bring any change. So you are there to make any wetland a very wealthy natural resource. Thank you very much. I suppose these particular sessions are sort of guidelines for the students and participants. I'm not going to make a big presentation for this, but I'll be talking about the gist of the sub-theme. I'll be talking on two sub-themes. One is coastal development and regulation, and other one is wetlands, threats and opportunities. My senior colleague and earlier speaker, Dr. Kale sir, had given exhaustive. We'll quickly go through various tenets, various principles, various aspects of the sub-themes. First is coastal development and regulation. Next slide, please. The coast is a very dynamic ecosystem. The coast may be a seashore or a river coast or any wetland along any other water body. There are n number of definitions of coast. The simplest would be the land adjacent to water body. In other words, it is a wetland. Typically, we use the word coast as a seashore, and therefore, many references had given land adjacent to sea as a coast. They are, as I already mentioned, I started my presentation with the fact that they are the most dynamic ecosystems, and therefore they are very fragile and they are very susceptible to stress and hence to undergo many changes. Most of them are untoward changes, unwanted changes. Next slide, please. So coastal development, again, you can get many references on coastal development strategies, coastal development approaches, coastal development aspects. What I found is a single reference where 10 principles for coastal development. This particular was actually put forward in a small handbook by a corporation. It is Urban Land Institute in Washington, DC. And I consider this particular single document, or rather these 10 points, cover the entire gamut of coastal development. We'll quickly go because each point is self-explanatory. First is enhance value of any coast by protecting and conserving natural ecosystems. But obvious. See, they have not considered the coastal development for the benefit of humankind. They have considered, or rather it has to be considered as a natural ecosystem, and therefore its protection, its conservation, its enhancement is the primary, secondary, tertiary, or any level priority. They have mentioned there, they have given these coasts full freedom to be naturally dynamic. Coastal ecosystems are dynamic. So if they are naturally dynamic, the changes are natural and therefore the changes are not very unhealthy. Human or other factors interruption has led to the abuse of many coasts, the onslaught on the coast, and their dynamicism is changed artificially. So if we give full freedom, as earlier in the proceedings, we had seen that any and every ecosystem has got innate natural ability to survive, not only survive, to prosper. So this is the first principle this document had given for coastal development. Let it be on its own fate. Next, please. Second, they mention identify natural hazards, not anthropogenic hazards, natural hazards. It may be tsunami, it may be flooding, whatever it is, and reduce vulnerability of any coast or coastland from this. So here, I just got this Saffir-Simpson hurricane scale. Again, hurricane is one of the natural disasters. So what have they mentioned is category 1 from minimal damage to category 5 to catastrophic damage. So any local coast, if the natural hazards are identified and they are appropriately put under any of these categories, then the proper measures can be undertaken. Minimal damage, winds are 75 to 95 meters per hour, storm range is 4 to 5 feet, while the last category, catastrophic damage, where it is catastrophe. So I mean, no one can do anything. The winds are very high speed and the storm surge is beyond 18 feet. So this second one, first identify the natural hazards, identify the natural what shall I say, the processes which would lead to disruption of normal coast. Next, please. Similarly, apply comprehensive assessment to the region and site. All coasts may not be of the same worth. And when a human being talks about worth, we do not consider ecology as main factor, but economy as main factor. Here we will, see to that also, ecology and economy should go hand in hand. So the comprehensive assessment of any coastal region and site is to be done, and natural inventory. When you do natural inventory, so many aspects are to be taken into consideration: coastal processes, geology, geological topography, and natural or current topography, soils, hydrology, habitat, climate, and living resources, including, of course, human being. So if we do proper and comprehensive assessment, it becomes very easy to guard or protect any coast, and it becomes easy to undertake, or rather to decide, then undertake and implement the developmental activities. Next, please. So these various points: lower risk by exceeding standards for siting and construction. Now, anthropogenic factors have pitched in, adopt successful practices from dynamic coastal conditions, make right things easy to do. See how beautifully they have mentioned it. We say generally you have to do right things. They have added, make right things easy to do. Generally, in our life, what we experience at each and every footstep, the life is made miserable. Life is made beautiful. Difficult. Though we say that life is beautiful, but in practice, so they just suggested, and mind well, in deciding these 10 points, all the expertise, right from engineers to architects to biologists to administrators, were involved. So they have mentioned this. So if you make right things which can be done easily, then all the things become very simple. Use market-based incentives. And again, this incentive, not necessarily economic incentive, but in any form, make or use market-based incentives to encourage appropriate development. I mean, when I say development, we only go for infrastructural development, constructing bridges, constructing buildings, but we do not consider the ecosystem as primarily important thing. And therefore, they say that put your money where your regulations are. What we do is we make regulations and then we put money. They say that put your money where the regulations are set in. Why do you need to change the regulation time and again? Right things are to be done easily, and the money is to be added to implement the regulations which are already set in. So, build partnerships, maximize benefits to the community and environment. We generally target only community or only environment. Community, and again, not only human community, the local biota and the nature should go hand in hand for coastal development. That is what they suggest. Address social and economic equity concerns. Now, this is a very wonderful suggestions they make, and I'm sure if this single suggestion is accepted and implemented, I mean, coastal development would be the reality anytime. They say that community land trust for affordable housing. What is community land trust? The land cost is negated. You subtract land cost because land is of the community. And therefore, if you subtract land cost, the entire, it may be housing project or commercial project or any construction, because the land is donated by the local people only. They are made party to this. They are made partner to the venture of coastal development. And therefore, it is community land trust, which is the key thing for this coastal development implementation. Next, please. Similarly, balance public's right of access. Now, generally what we say, you all must be aware that it is protected area. When you define and decide and declare any area as protected area, you cannot do anything there. Instead, they suggested that all the local people should be or should have access to that coast. Use with private property rights, public trust doctrine. Now, this public trust doctrine, again, a very interesting fact, which they said was established in Roman Empire. That is the public trust. A trust is formed for that particular coastal population of the local population itself, and they govern, they implement, they administer. Last but not the least, commit to stewardship that will sustain coastal areas. Incentivize for wetland protection. And here they said monetary incentivization. For just like we just witnessed in the morning session, the Mangrove Foundation is giving monetary incentives to fisher folks who actually save and protect the natural wealth, fish, prawns, anything. If a live, big endangered animal is caught in the fisher folks' net, the fisherman cuts his or her net, releases that particular animal. The same thing this particular document had mentioned, that incentivize for wetlands protection. Of course, here coastal wetlands or coastlines. So these 10 tenets, these 10 points, I personally consider that cover the entire gamut of coastal development. Next, please. Now, quickly, we will go through the next topic. Already we know the strengths of wetlands. These threats and opportunities, we all know SWOT analysis, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. In the resources, services, we are talking about strengths and weaknesses. Threats and opportunities, again, the threats are well known. I have just, as I mentioned, just summarize the things. These are various threats. Draining of agricultural land into a wetland, because typically even today, globally, agriculture uses inorganic chemicals, and that particular drain of water into wetland pollutes it. Overgrazing. Now, grazing is a natural phenomenon. Cattle graze, but overgrazing for human, what shall I say, selfishness. Because I need more of milk, I need more of meat, I need more of so many things from the grazing animals. So I should increase the population of these grazers. That has led to the overexploitation and mass destruction of wetlands. Overexploitation of wetland resources. Dr. Kale sir has already fabulously mentioned about all the resources and services. Exploitation is the word used very wrongly. It's not a negative word at all. Exploitation is natural. Just like we human beings say, I'm dieting. For God's sake, everybody diets. When I say I'm dieting, I'm eating. I'm consuming food. I should say I'm diet controlling, or I'm controlling my diet. Similarly, ditto is applicable here. Exploitation is law of nature. Who am I to overpower nature? Overexploitation is wrong, just like overgrazing. So anything over or under. Overexploitation is wrong. Underutilization is also leading to undesirable species overpowering in that ecosystem. And so that is also to be avoided. Introduction of floriculture industries. Here specifically, and of course, I will add here, sorry, I did not add that. I'm an aquaculturist. Just like floriculture, aquaculture industry, I mention, I repeat the word industry, not activity. floriculture, natural activity is welcome. But when I say industry, I don't go for satiating my needs, but I have to satisfy my greeds. So industry is the negative word here. Floriculture industry, aquaculture industry, deforestation, siltation and soil erosion. No need to talk on this. It is well accepted facts. Urbanization and industrialization, again industry. We are not against industry, but industrial belt, if they are isolated and if the wetlands or coasts are segregated from those industrial belts, nothing untoward would happen, right? So again, urbanization is not bane, rather it's a boon. But over urbanization and industrialization at the cost of wetlands. At the cost of wetlands. Here, this aspect must be taken into consideration. Overfishing, again same thing. But fishes are to be exploited. Any water organism, for that matter, has to be exploited. Demographic pressure, because of again excessive population. Few years back, 30 years back, there was a term population explosion. Our stage has reached that explosion word is a very inadequate and small word. We have gone much beyond that. And climate change. Climate change is again a natural phenomenon which occurs naturally. What have we done? We have increased the speed of climate change tremendously, rather geometrically. So these are the threats which are to be properly taken into consideration, and we should use policies and implement certain things and activities which would minimize the threats. Threats would not go away, but which would minimize the threats, mitigate these, and would protect wetlands. Next, please. Last aspect, opportunities. Again, I'm not talking about the resources and services as opportunities. Already, sir has mentioned about it. But opportunities as of today, new water and environmental legislations and policies. Now I'm contradicting myself because I already mentioned that regulations are set and why to change. When I say new, the editing or edited legislations and policies, these are to be taken positively and these are to be followed properly, not only by the administrators, but taking the local population along with it. Proper and strict implementation. We know that there are many laws and legislations about wetlands. A simple and main thing, coastal recreation zone. We know that, and there are so many amendments from till last year. And they are going to change. We are not changing the legislation as such, the regulation as such, but as we encounter certain new threats, we just tweak it for the betterment. So we should not consider these legislations and laws and rules and policies as hurdles. We should consider these as opportunities and try to implement in practical way. Rehabilitation of damaged wetlands with biomimicry. Biomimicry is again the crux of it. We are mimicking nature. So if we just follow nature, then the rehabilitation of damaged wetland becomes not only easy, and I would say on the larger scale, less expensive, but it becomes all inclusive and proactive for nature or natural developments. Natural farming practices, I just mentioned there itself, that no one is against floriculture, aquaculture, agriculture, homoculture, whatever it is. But natural practices are to be undertaken. Empowerment of local communities, we are talking, and again, I take the name of Mangrove Foundation or Mangrove Cell. Again, they are doing the same thing. We all should come together and support them for empowerment of local communities. And of course, last but not the least, the most important, we should take opportunity as the awareness programs, just like this particular platform. This particular activity is part of our Clean Creek movement, and therefore all these are opportunities for coastal development, for wetlands management. Next, please. I think that's all. Just one additional point I wish to mention. What we do is we generally use the word management, we use the word prevention. Especially in wetlands, we are talking about mainly we focus on water. It may be white water, it may be gray water, or it may be black water. White water is what we use generally. Gray water is the water which comes out of our bath, domestic, but not sanitary water. Not only domestic, and black water is sanitary water. That black water is to be treated. Gray water is to be managed, so it can be turned into white water. So, there is no, I would say, extremity in nature. We have to take into consideration so many aspects, and then only we can use the wetlands as the best lands. We use them, we exploit them, but not overtly. Thank you very much.
All right, this is one of the sub-themes. This is one of the sub-themes, conservation of wetland biodiversity. I have quite a few slides which are more pictorial. So I'll just request you to just go ahead with the slides. Because we know that wetlands are highly productive ecosystems, and they are rich in biodiversity with respect to flora and fauna. So we have a lot of different species of macrophytes. Many of these are submerged, deep-rooted, and one wonderful thing that we when we look at the wetland vegetation, flora, there are different types of plants which are located at different depths of the wetland. Depending upon the depth of the wetland or that water level, we have different species of macrophytes and many other different types of vegetation. Next, please. All right, so as there is a common notion that wetlands are the wastelands, but in reality, as we have learned so far since morning, these are really not the wastelands, but highly productive areas, highly productive ecosystems. Please go ahead. There are some photographs which are not the original ones. I have got them from Google Images. Next, please. Just to give the overall idea of how the wetland biodiversity looks like. Next. Then there are man-made wetlands, about which again already was spoken. There are several thousand reservoirs and the dams which have been constructed. So these man-made wetlands also play a significant role in biodiversity. Next, please. Even the paddy fields have been considered as the wetlands. It's very interesting. Paddy fields are actually come under agriculture, but they have been considered as the wetlands. Next, please. So basically, the wetlands are characterized by the presence of macrophytes, which are the aquatic plants, and there are microscopic algae, phytoplankton or filamentous algae. Excuse me. And these flora plays a very significant role in determining the functions of the wetlands. Whatever services of the wetlands that have been spoken about by earlier speakers, are because of these plants, basically the different species of macrophytes and microscopic organisms, the algae and phytoplankton that are found in the wetlands. Next, please. Next. So, as I mentioned earlier, as far as the location of the macrophytes or their distribution across the wetlands is concerned, it basically depends upon the depth of water at in different different places or different parts of the wetlands. So, accordingly, we see a lot of variation with respect to the species. Next. Next. Again, these are some macrophytes. And the animals, the fauna that is found in the wetlands in general. Next, please. Okay, please go ahead. Yeah. So when we look at the services that are provided and the benefits that we receive from the wetlands, we would expect that the wetlands would be among the most desirable ecosystems, and topmost priorities would be given to for conservation and protection of the wetlands. But reality is far from this fact, and that is why the Ramsar Convention, highlighting various aspects of the wetlands and having such awareness campaigns or the programs has become very essential. Next, please. Okay, so for protecting and conserving the wetland biodiversity, specific biophysical characteristic features, biophysical and chemical characters of the wetlands, obtaining optimum benefits from them. To do this, a major shift in policies which are related to land and wetlands use is required. Studies have shown that many small wetlands together. Now, normally the focus lies upon protecting and conserving the larger wetlands, large water bodies. But smaller wetlands exist in several parts all over India, and these wetlands have to be targeted specifically for conservation and protection of biodiversity, because these smaller wetlands will help in conservation of wetlands in total in general. So what is required is to address the real causes of wetland loss and degradation. Next, please. So what are the strategies? What are the recommendations by the experts that have been given? First of all, both natural and human-made wetlands should be declared as specific land use category, and their hydrological characters should be identified. Then their conservation to any other land use reduction in their area or alteration should be prohibited, except for strategic planning or strategically exploring other options and providing for specific measures. Total biodiversity of wetlands should be assessed, and periodically it should be monitored. That is very important in order to conserve biodiversity of the wetlands. All ecosystem services should be properly assessed and valued. That has already been spoken about. The economics of biodiversity, wetland biodiversity, and all the development projects should be considered while protecting or conserving the wetland biodiversity. Next, please. A report that has been produced by TIBS, that is the economics of ecosystem and biodiversity, recommend that integrating the wetlands into national decision-making process, ensuring that wetland services are fully committed to solutions, or they are fully utilized for land and water management, committing to protect biodiversity, and ensuring the participation of community. Again, this community participation has been highlighted, and to encourage businesses to assess their operations in wetlands as well as dependency on these valuable resources. Dr. Karnik has mentioned that development of the industries is one of the major reasons for degradation of the wetlands. So while setting up the industry, the presence of wetland in the area should be considered. Next. So thank you very much. And that's all I wanted to highlight about this particular theme. Thank you.